Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Ugadi is a fantastic festival. It is very different from many of the others. Generally, when we talk about festivals, these are special days given to us by the rishis to improve certain aspects in our life. And we have been exploring in the Karishye channel one by one all these festivals. Generally, they are all associated very strongly with one particular deity. The name Devi Navaratri, for example, is for the Devi, Shivaratri is for Shiva, Vaikuntha Ekadasi is associated with Vishnu, Vinayak Chavati is with Ganesha, and so on and so on. Who is the deity for Ugadi, and what did the rishis want us to do or look at on this particular day? In Ugadi, the deity very interestingly is time itself. Kalaswarupa, Kalanarayana, Kalachakra, Kalapurusha, however you want to call it. The Chaitanya or the force behind forward moving arrow of time. That energy is what we are praying to on this particular day. But we have no temples for time. There are no openly given mantras or puja vidhanas to pray time. So what can we offer? Time itself. And the answer lies in the name. So Ugadi, actually referring to Ugadi, sometimes interpreted as the day when Brahma started the creation. While that is a totally different subject, because a kalpa in Brahma's lifetime is equivalent to 4.32 billion years. Science estimates the current universe to be around 13.7 billion years. Even if you look at it like that, it is very hard to say what the rishis refer to as creation as compared to the time cycle that we are looking at in science, because as per the rishis, kalpa is just a half a day, and 100 years of Brahma is the lifetime of a creation, and then after that again it resets and one more creation begins. So the time span in Sanatana Dharma is mind-bogglingly astronomically huge compared to what science says. So we will keep that aspect aside, but there is another aspect, another secret that the rishis intended us to find out when they said Brahma started the creation on this particular day. It is the concept of Brahma Muhurtam. Just like there is a Brahma Muhurtam for every day, which is the auspicious time before the sunrise, where it is perfect for upasana and meditation and any sort of puja where you are going inwards. Similarly, Ugadi is the Brahma Muhurtam for the entire year. During this Brahma Muhurtam, we have the opportunity to offer something to time, and that is the promise to increase the quality by which we spend time. Everyone will experience time the same way when it comes to quantity. It is the same year for you, me, and everyone else. In exactly 1 year, another Ugadi will come. But during this 1 year, how can we budget time? What is happening in our life? Are we focusing too much on Artha and too little on Dharma and Jnana, for example? Is there some aspect of how we are spending time that we need to refocus? Is some addiction or habit, for example, sucking away a lot of time and hardly giving anything back in return? Are we ignoring health, family, etc. that needs readjustment? Or is there something inside of us like anger, jealousy, etc. that we need to work on this particular year? Taking sankalpas, or if you may like to say Sanatana Dharma's version of New Year resolutions, the perfect time to take those vows is Ugadi, and that is the offering that you can give to the Kalanarayana. This is the lens with which the rishis wanted us to look at Ugadi. Of course, there are very, very nice additions to this. For example, from the Ayurveda came the concept of Ugadi Pachadi and the symbolism of Shadruchi, and now it is reminding us that the year ahead will have its highs and lows, ups and downs, but that's fine because that's how time is. We need to take everything by our stride and keep moving forward. So this is one aspect of Ugadi. I think we are getting closer to the flavor in which we need to look at this festival. Let us now also look at something slightly lesser talked about but very, very closely associated and important, which is the Ugadi Panchanga Shravanam. There is this concept where an astrologer comes either on TV or on YouTube or physically you are there. They are reading Rasi Falalu from the Panchangam. They are going through one by one the zodiac signs of Sanatana Dharma and telling how this year is going to behave for people who are born within that zodiac sign. Now, if you think logically about it, in every zodiac sign there are going to be 1/12 of the population born. How can all of them have the same kind of a year going forward? So that is not what the concept is. Let us look at how this originated and how we need to understand this better. Back in the Gurukul days, the Guru was not just a teacher but a dharmic guide to every student. He was deeply attuned and very personally attached to every Shishya's path going forward. So because the Gurukul Gurus and the Rishis were all very good astrologers themselves, they would have started offering guidance based on the planetary movements customized to every particular student's sadhana. For example, if they are noticing that a sanchita karma of a student is going to make him or her take certain wrong steps, an indicative precaution is given by the guru to them that just watch out, increase your sadhana in this particular area, and so on and so forth. So that is how this whole aspect of talking about how the coming time would be for you and utilizing it for bettering your own sadhana came about. Then over a period of time, because not everyone is in gurukuls, some bit of generalized annual readings were starting to get published either through the kings or the rajarshis and so on to everybody in the society. Later on, of course, once print media came in, these became books. So think of this as not a prediction of the future, but more of an indicator of a reference point on how at an average the year might be, but it is not like a fixed destiny, because Sanatana Dharma and the rishis have always maintained that while Jyotishya is like a spiritual GPS indicating through reference points how your karmic blueprint is and what kind of good or bad could happen to you as per your mind state, through bhakti and sadhana one can always reroute and override that path. Always remember that your karmic roadmap, your horoscope is never a fixed destiny. It is in your hands. It is in your hands, in your sadhana and in your bhakti, and everything can change. The Rasi Phalalu, the general guidelines given at the beginning of the year, think of them as seasonal forecasts. And going back to the initial part of the video, because we said that on this day we need to take certain sankalpas and offer them to the Kalapurusha, it helps sometimes to know what is the general pattern of the year, how is the weather like, just for you to plan things a little better. But these are not absolute, they are just indicative, just helping us to stay mentally and spiritually prepared on what to expect in the coming year. Then therefore, if possible, readjust the kind of sankalpas we need to take. Now of course, it's a demand and supply, just like everything else. Most of all, the Panchanga Shravanam is always talking about career and money and going to foreign and how are crops going to behave, how will elections work, and so on and so forth. Rarely do we hear statements about sadhana and going inwards, but we need to work with what we have in our hands. Even these things are important, career, parenting, because they do take a lot of our time. So understanding how these things are going to work will give us a better way for us to plan our year. Also, I would like to call out at this point that Panchangam, which is a 5-variable method in Jyotish Shastram, which uses Tithi, Vara, Nakshatra, Yoga and Karana. There are various other methods like Dashangam, for example, where there are 10 variables used for calculation. And also remember that over the years, different rishi lineages and different cultural sects have created their own minor variations of these calculations, which is why you have n number of different panchangas going on in the society. If you travel all across India, you will find that the masas itself are changing, and what is considered auspicious in one part of the country is not auspicious at all at another part. So it doesn't really bode well if we stick too much into these calculations, but it is, I think, a much more wiser decision to stay slightly above and look at it a little symbolically. We would rather invest that time in increasing our bhakti and sadhana rather than focusing too much on how these time and phalalu are moving about. Definitely they are powerful, definitely they are part of the Jyotish Shastra, they have come from the same rishis who have given us all this other information, so they are not to be thought of or dismissed, but we need to respect that and equally respect the power of time itself and the power of sankalpa in our hands to change our own destiny. This is how we wanted to approach Ugadi, as an offering to time itself, as a salutation to Narayana as a Kalaswarupa, and to remind ourselves of this simple fact that if we lead every single hour with more meaningfulness, then this year is going to be better for us. The Devi and the Swami will make sure of it. Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha.